Hello, good day. Today we are going to discuss the consolidation and settlement. And to start with this topic, we have a simple introduction regarding this consolidation and settlement. Structures are built on soils, and actually they transfer loads to the subsoil through the foundations, and the effect of the loads is felt by the soil, normally up to a depth of about 2 to 3 times the width of the foundation, and sometimes it could be 1.5 times the width. And the compression of the soil mass leads to the decrease in the volume of the mass, which result in the settlement of the structure. And the compression of the soil mass due to the imposed stresses may be almost immediate or maybe time dependent, according to the permeability characteristics of the soil. And for the cohesionless soils, which are highly permeable, are compressed in a relatively short period of time as compared now to the cohesive soils, which are less permeable, no? And the compressibility characteristics of the soil might be due to any or a combination of the following factors, such as the compression of the solid matter, the compression of water and air within the voids, and maybe escape of water and air from the voids itself. Okay, and it is quite reasonable also, no, to assume that the solid matter and the pure water are relatively incompressible, no, under the loads and usually encountered in soil masses. And the change in volume of a mass under imposed stresses must be due to the escape of water if the soil is saturated. But in case if the soil is partially saturated, the change in volume of the mass is actually partly due to the compression, no? And maybe also due to the escape of air from the voids, and also maybe due to the dissolution of air in the pore water in the soil mass. Okay? So the compressibility of a soil mass is mostly dependent on the rigidity of the soil skeleton, and the rigidity in turn is dependent on the structural arrangement of particles, and in fine-grained soils, on the degree to which adjacent particles are banded together, and soils which possess a honeycomb structure possess also high porosity, and as such are more compressible. A soil composed predominantly of flat grains is more compressible than one containing mostly spherical grains, and a soil in an undisturbed state is less compressible than the same soil in a remolded state. Okay, so proceeding now, uh, soils are neither elastic nor plastic, and when a soil mass is under compression, the volume change is predominantly due to the slipping of grains, one relative to another, and the grains do not spring back to their original positions upon removal of the stress. However, a small elastic rebound may be under low pressures could be attributed, to the elastic compression of the absorbed water surrounding the grains. And the soil engineering problems are of two types, and this includes all cases where there is no possibility of the stress being sufficiently large to exceed the shear strength of the soil, but wherein the strains lead to what may be a serious magnitude of displacement of individual grains, leading to settlements within the soil mass, and includes cases also in which there is a danger of shearing stresses exceeding the shear strength of the soil. And we can encounter this case, instability problems like the earth pressure, slope stability, and in our subject, foundations. Okay, And we have now a simple definition, no, of consolidation. And when a saturated clay water system is subjected to an external pressure, the pressure applied is actually initially taken by the water in the pores and resulting thereby in an excess for water pressure. But if the drainage, no, is permitted, the resulting hydraulic gradients, no, as we discussed in our previous lectures, no, which is denoted by this I, initiate a flow of water out of the clay, and the mass begins to compress, and a portion of the applied stress is actually transferred to the soil skeleton, which in turn causes a reduction in the excess for water pressure. And this process, involving a gradual compression occurring simultaneously with the flow of water out of the mass and with the gradual transfer of the applied pressure from the pore water to the mineral skeleton, is called consolidation. Okay? And consolidation also is a process opposite to consolidation is called swelling, and which involves an increase in the water content due to an increase in the volume of the voids. And consolidation may be due to one or more of the following factors. Number one, we have the external static loads from structures. Second, the self-weight of the soil, rather, such as recently placed fields or embankments. And we have now this lowering of the groundwater table, which is also critical, no? And we have now this desiccation. And proceeding, the portion of the settlement, no, of the structure which occurs more or less simultaneously with the applied loads is referred to as the initial or the immediate settlement. And this settlement is due to the immediate compression of the soil under undrained condition and is calculated assuming the soil mass to behave as an elastic soil. Okay? So, if the rate of compression of the soil layer is controlled solely by the resistance of the flow of water under the induced hydraulic gradient, no, denoted by I, the process is referred to as the primary consolidation. Okay? And the portion of the settlement that is due to primary consolidation is called primary consolidation settlement or compression. So actually, we have here this immediate compression, no, and settlement, or we have now this primary compression or consolidation and secondary compression, in which for immediate compression, this occurs in clay soils without any change in the water content, and for the primary compression or consolidation is due to the expulsion of water, no, from the soil mass. And for the secondary compression, this one starts, no, after the primary compression ceases. So this is dependent, no, the secondary compression is dependent on this primary consolidation. Okay, so this secondary compression is due to the secondary consolidation or compression of the clay layer, and this compression is supposed to start after the primary consolidation ceases, and meaning after the excess for water pressure approaches zero actually. And it is often most assumed that secondary compression proceeds linearly with the logarithm of time, and a satisfactory treatment of this phenomenon has not been formulated for computing settlement under this secondary compression. Okay, so proceeding, we have now this simple illustration, no, for the process of consolidation, in which the process of consolidation of a clay soil water system here may be explained, no, with the help of a mechanical model as described by Terzaghi and Froelich in 1936. And in this model, consists of a cylinder, no? This is consists of a cylinder, and then with a frictionless piston, this one, and the piston is supported on one or more helical metallic springs. These four strings here, okay? And the space underneath the piston, so this is now our piston. So the space underneath it, this one, okay, is filled with water. So this is filled with water. And the springs represent the mineral skeleton in the actual soil mass, and the water below the piston is the pore water under saturated conditions in this soil mass. And when a load P here, this concentrated load or this uniformly distributed load small p is placed on the piston, this stress is fully transferred to the water. Okay, this is transferred now to the water as water is assumed to be incompressible and the water pressure increases. And the pressure in the water is denoted by this formula. U is equal now to small p, or the uniformly distributed pressure. So we have here a simple illustration, no, of one-dimensional consolidation, in which in many instances, no, the settlement of a structure is due to the presence of one or more layers of soft clay. As you can see here, we have now the sand layer here, and we have the soft clay layer in between of the two sand layers. Okay, so the addition between the soft and the stiff layers almost completely prevents, no, the lateral movement of the soil layers. And the theory that was developed by Terzaghi on the basis of this assumption is called now the one-dimensional consolidation theory. So as you can see here, we have now a drainage here, no? The drainage faces, no, maybe uh, on top of this soft clay layer, or we can also have drainage here on the bottom side of the soft clay layer. So it depends on the problem. Sometimes we have one drainage, no, consideration, and sometimes you also have two drainage consideration. So we have here, no, a simple figure, no, for this one dimensional consolidation, in which the process of consolidation as explained, no, in that mechanical model in our previous slide, no, may be applied to a saturated clay layer in the field. And if the clay strata shown in this figure 3 is subjected to an excess pressure, no, with delta P due to this uniformly distributed load P, this one, due to this one, okay. So the clay layer is actually compressed due to this uniformly distributed P. So this clay layer is compressed over time, and excess pore water drains out of it through the sandy layer. So that is why we have here drainage, no, drainage spaces, which could be on top of the soft clay layer or at the bottom of this soft clay layer. And this constitutes now the process of consolidation. And at the instant of application of this excess load, no, denoted by this P or delta P, the load is carried entirely by the water, no, through the voids of the soil. And as time goes on, the excess pore water pressure decreases. Why? Because this pore water dissipates, no, through the drainage, and that is why it decreases, and effective vertical pressure then in the layer correspondingly increases. So at any point within the consolidating layer, the value of our U, or of the pore water pressure at a given time, may be determined, no, from this formula. U is equal now to U sub I minus the delta P subscript Z, in which our U is just the exists for water pressure at depth Z at any time t. And U sub I is the initial total for water pressure at time t equals to 0. Okay, and our delta P subscript Z is the effective pressure transferred to the soil grains at depth Z and at time t. Okay, so as you can observe here, no, so you can see now the exists for water pressure now in kilopascal in this x-axis, and we also have in the vertical axis now, which is the height of the clay layer in mm. So on top of this, this is now our drainage system now, so in which this is now the media in which the poor water pressure no may dissipates through this drainage system. Okay, so proceeding, at the end of the primary consolidation, the exist for water pressure actually, no, this U becomes equal now to 0. Take note, at the end of the primary consolidation, our U becomes equal to 0. And this happens when our U is equal to 0 at all depths, no? And the time taken for full consolidation depends upon the drainage condition also, the thickness also of this sand or this clay strata, and the excess load no at the top of this clay strata, which could be either this uniformly distributed load delta P, or it could be sometimes a concentrated load capital P. Okay, so we have now this computation no, of the consolidation settlement, in which our formula for this is just denoted by this S subscript T is equal now to this quantity C sub C over 1 plus E sub O times H times the log of PO plus delta P all over PO. Okay, so our C sub C here is the compression index, and our E sub O is the in situ void ratio. Our delta P, rather our P sub O is the effective overburden pressure no, at the center. Take note, at the center of the clay strata. And our delta P is the increase in pressure at the middle of the clay strata due to the external loading from the elastic theory. And sometimes we will denote this delta P sometimes as our sigma Z. Okay? And take note, if the thickness of the clay strata is too large, the strata may be divided with smaller layers of thickness less than 3 meters. And the net change in pressure delta P at the middle of each layer will have to be determined, and the compression index Cc may have to be found for each of the layers if ever it is required. So try to remember no this formula. We will use this one no this consolidation settlement S sub T. And proceeding, this could be equal also now to the summation of this. Take note no, when you see the difference, our H here is just simply H no, since this only involves no one soft clay layer. Okay, so in this case, if the problem or your soil layers consist of a lot of clay layers or maybe a lot of soil strata, so you may divide no according to this note here. When the thickness of the clay strata is too large, no, the strata may be divided with smaller layers of thickness less than 3 meters. So if that would be the case, so we will use the H subscript I. Okay, and we have also here an equivalent no for this formula for this consolidation settlement, equal also now to the summation of our H sub I times this M subscript B delta P, where our M subscript B is our coefficient of volume compressibility, which is equal now to the ratio of 1 over the concrete modulus of elasticity E subscript C. Okay, so try to remember now these formulas, no? And you can use this in our problem application later. And also, we have this computation, no, for the consolidation settlement for case that your P subscript C is greater than or equal to the sum of your PO plus delta P. Okay, so this could be now our formula for this consolidation settlement. Take note that we are using now the C subscript S, which is referring now to this equal now to this ratio of delta A over the log of your PO plus delta P all over PO. Okay, and this is just for the case that your PC is greater than or equal now to the sum of PO plus delta P. Okay, so next, if in case that your PC is greater than PO but less than the sum of PO plus delta P, so we can use now this formula also for the consolidation settlement involving this C sub S, which is equal now to this 1/5 to 1/10 of your compression index CC, and our C sub S also is equal now to 0.0463 times this liquid limit over 100 times your specific gravity according to Nagara and Murthy in 1985. So you have to check, no, your PC with respect now to the PO and to the sum of PO plus delta P, and if this this will coincide with this case, so you can use this formula, no, for the consolidation settlement. And we have also now this S sub S, no, which is referring now to the secondary compression, which is just equal now to this formula of C subscript alpha over 1 plus EO times H times log of T over TP, in which our C subscript alpha is our secondary compression index. Okay, so we have now these empirical relationships for computing the compression index C sub C. So we can use now the formula of Skimpton in 1944 for the remolded clay, also for Tersag and Pick for normally consolidated clay, and you have Aros et al. Formula in 1976, the Hodge formula in 1957, and the Nagara and Srinivasa Murthy formula in 1983 to calculate your C sub C, where our W subscript L is our liquid limit, W sub N is our natural moisture content, the A sub O is our initial void ratio, and our A sub L is the void ratio at liquid limit. Okay, so now we proceed now to this sample problem number 1. During a consolidation test, a sample of fully saturated clay 3 cm thick, denoted by this HO, is consolidated under a pressure increment of 200 kilopascal. When equilibrium is reached, the sample thickness is reduced to 2.6 cm. Okay? And the pressure is then removed and the sample is allowed to expand and absorb water. The final thickness is observed as 2.8 cm and it is denoted by this H sub F. Meaning our H sub O is our initial thickness and our H sub F is our final thickness. And the final moisture content is determined as 24.9%. If the specific gravity of the soil solids is 2.7, find the void ratio of the sample before and after consolidation. Okay, so Our approach for this problem is we need to draw first no the figure from its initial state until its final state, no. So we have now this simple illustration before applying the 200 kilopascal pressure, no, having this thickness of 3 centimeter here, and this is now our volume of solid, no, B sub S. And after applying the 200 kilopascal pressure, so uh, you have seen here the green, no, the green color line here, referring now to after applying the 200 kilopascal, no, reaching equilibrium, its height is 2.6 centimeter from its original height of 3 centimeter. And after removing the 200 kilopascal pressure, this pressure increment, so according to the problem statement, the sample is allowed to expand and absorb water. So that is why from 2.6, so it expands to 2.8 since it absorbed now water. Okay. So we have now this value of our delta B over V, which is equal now to the delta H over H. Okay. So the change in volume with respect now to the original volume is just directly proportional now to the change of your height, no, of this layer, no, of this soil over the original height H. Okay. So using that one, so we can actually have now this delta H over H is therefore equal now to this delta E over 1 plus E. Actually, you can recall this formula, no, in our soil mechanics, and I advise everyone, no, to review your soil mechanics regarding this formula. And in our lecture today, we are just using the formula, no, from our soil mechanics so that we can calculate, no, the required uh, variable or data needed to solve this problem. Okay, so delta H over H is just equal now to delta E over 1 plus E, which is, this is now our void ratio actually, no? And this delta is our change in void ratio. So we have now this commencement, no, to the end of consolidation, meaning from the original HF of, no, rather original height of the clay, which is 3 centimeter, to 2.6 centimeter upon applying this 200 kilopascal pressure. Okay, so this is now our simple illustration, no, from originally from 3 centimeter upon applying this 100 increment pressure, so it reduces to 2.6 centimeter. So that is why 3 to 2.6 centimeter here. And our delta H then is just simply the difference of your 3 minus 2.6, which is equal now to 0.4 centimeter. And our H is equal now to this 2.6, no? From 3, upon the application of 200 kilopascal, so its final height is reaching 2.6 centimeter, and this could be now our capital H, no, which is 2.6 centimeter. So using now the delta H over H, so actually we can get now the ratio of delta H over H, which is equal now to delta E over 1 plus E, and our delta H is just 0.4 centimeter over this H, which is 2.6. So we can say that our delta E over 1 plus E is just equal now to 0.154. Okay, and proceeding, we can have this equation 1, no, from this relationship, in which our delta E is just simply equal now to 0.154 times the quantity 1 plus E. And this could be our equation number 1. Okay, so proceeding, we have now this end of the consolidation, no? to the final thickness, meaning after reaching this 2.6 and we remove the increment of 200 kilopascal pressure, so from the end of the consolidation to the final thickness, meaning from this 2.6 to the final HF of 2.8 centimeter after the removal of the pressure. Okay, so this is now our illustration, no, for this after removing the 200 kilopascal from 2.6 here. After removing, it expand, no, since it will absorb water, so it will really expand until it reaches the height of 2.8 centimeter. So by this, our delta H is simply 2.8 minus 2.6, which is equal now to 0.2. And our H then is from 2.6 to 2.8, meaning our H here is this 2.8 centimeter. Okay, so again, using this relationship, delta H over H, so we can get this 2.2, this one over 2.8. So we can have this delta H over H equal now to 0.071. Okay, so we can arrive actually now the equation number 2 out of this, in which our delta A is just equal now to 0.071 times the quantity 1 plus E. Okay, and proceeding, since we already knew that our void ratio is just equal now to the natural water content times the specific gravity of the solids, so from this we can say that our natural moisture content is given in the problem, which is 24.9%, and our specific gravity of the solid is 2.7. So we can actually get this void ratio E equal now to 0.672. Okay, and this is also our void ratio subscript F, no? Since this is now the final stage, no, using this height of 2.8 centimeter, no, in the final stage, so that is why we denote this one as E subscript F. Okay, and substituting now this E equal now to 672 to this equation 2, since from here from 2.6 to 2.8, so end of the consolidation to final thickness, so from this one, this is our final void ratio. So we substitute now this to this one, no, because we are going backward, no, from the final HF of 2.8, going back now to the applied 200 kilopascal incremental pressure until such that it return now to its original set at 3 centimeter height of this thickness. Okay, so substituting this 0.672 to here, so we can actually have now this 0.071 plus times rather the quantity 1 plus 0.672. So we can say that our delta A is just equal now to 0.19. Actually, we are considering here, no, we go backward, no, from the very beginning, actually, no, before the applying the 200 kilopascal, so its height is 3 centimeters. So upon the application of this incremental 200 kilopascal, it reaches equilibrium with a height of 2.6, no, centimeter. So after that one, the incremental pressure of 200 is removed. So that is why it expands, no? It expands, no, to a height of 2.8, in which this is now our final stage, no, with a height of 2.8. So therefore, since this natural water content is on the final stage, so we can therefore say that our void ratio E is just simply our E subscript F, referring now to the final stage using this 2.8 centimeter thickness. Okay, so that is why we substitute now this 0.672 to this equation, since we are going backward now from 2.8, no, 2.8 back to 2.6, in which this is now the end of consolidation to the final thickness of 2.8, no, this one here, 2.8 to 2.6. So that is why we are substituting this A to this equation 2 here. Okay. So we can get the value of our delta A equal now to 0.119. Okay. And delta A is just simply equal now to the difference of our E sub F minus our void ratio. So actually we can get now the value of our E using our calculated delta A and our E sub F of 0.672. We can say that our E is simply equal now to 0.553. Okay. And proceeding, this is now our void ratio after the consolidation. Okay, after the consolidation. And we also have now this value of E equal now to 0.553 and substitute this one to equation 1. Okay, so we have this equation 1, delta equals to 0.154 times the quantity 1 plus A. And substituting this in now here, so we can have our delta A equals now to 0.239. Okay, and delta A, since we are now on this stage now from 3 cm to 2.6 centimeter, so our delta A is just equal now to our initial void ratio minus our E of 0.553. So therefore we can say that our initial void ratio here is simply equal now to the sum of our delta A plus this 0.553, which is equal now to 0.792. And this is now our void ratio at the start of the consolidation. Okay, so meaning from this 3 centimeter thickness, applying the incremental 200 kilopascal pressure. So this is actually our initial void ratio, no, at the start of the consolidation, no. So meaning before applying the 200 kilopascal incremental pressure. So this is our initial void ratio. Okay. So now we are going to proceed to sample problem number 2. A column of a building carries a load of 1,000 kips and the load is transferred to subsoil through a square footing of size 16 by 16 feet founded at a depth of 6.5 feet below ground level. The soil below the footing is fine sand up to a depth of 16.5 feet and below this is a soft compressible clay of thickness 16 feet. The water table is found at a depth of 6.5 feet below the base of the footing, and the specific gravities of the solid particles of sand and clay are 2.64 and 2.72, and their natural moisture contents are 25 and 40% respectively. The sand above the water table may be assumed to remain saturated if the plastic limit and the plasticity index of the clay are 30 and 40% respectively. Estimate the probable settlement of the building. Okay, so now we are into the settlement of the footing. So as shown here, you can see now the footing, no, and we have now these following dimensions, no, from the bottom of the foundation to the ground surface is 6.5 feet. This one at a depth of 6.5 feet below the ground level, no. And we also have this groundwater table, no, located 6.5 feet below the foundation, no, the base of the foundation. And based on this statement of the problem, so we have now this following orientation of our sand and clay layers. Okay, so proceeding. So we have here now this ratio. No? We need to check the ratio of our depth z over the width of the footing. Okay, so it must be greater than or equal now to 3.0. So from this figure, our z is simply no the mid height of the clay. So this is 24.5 feet no from the base of the footing. So our b is simply just this 16 feet. So we need to determine our z over b ratio. So proceeding, our z over b is simply equal now to 1.53, which is not complying no with this criterion of greater than or equal now to 3.0. So this is not okay. So we need to divide now the footing no. So we will start now with 4 equal parts. So still our z is 24.5 feet, and then our b, since we are going to divide this one into 4, so we can actually have here this as our first, our second, okay, third, and this is our fourth. So the width of the footing then is just simply equal now to 8 feet, and here 8 feet. So that is why we have here b is equal now to 8 feet. Okay, so proceeding, our z over b then is just equal now to 24.5 divided by 8 is just equal now to 3.06, which is already greater than no than 3.0. So this is now okay. So we will proceed since we already met now this criterion of greater than 3.0. So we have now to divide also the load no since this is 1000 kips divided by 4, so it is equal now to 250 kips no concentrated load at each part of the footing. So it could be here 250, 250, 250, and 250. Okay, so using the Bossinus influence factor I subscript b, so we have now the simple illustration for this now. Okay, so if we are going now to determine, since we divide now the footing into 4 equal parts, so we need to determine no the influence factor no the I sub b. So we need to determine now actually this r, this is our radial distance no from this point here to this point no, and from this point here to this point actually they are similar no since they are equally divided. So our distance from here to here is just the same distance from the center of the footing to this point here to this point here. So we need to determine our r. Okay, actually no we can compute this one no using the Pythagorean theorem. So we decide 8 and decide 8, so we take now the hypotenuse. After getting the hypotenuse, we divide that one by 2. We can get now this value of our radial distance r. So using the that one, so we actually have r equal now to 5.66 feet. Okay, so proceeding, so we need to substitute no since our r is 5.66, so we can get now the Bossinus no influence factor I sub b equal now to 0.42. Okay, and proceeding, we are going to solve now for this delta P, which is our uniformly distributed load. So from here, as what I've said no before, that this delta P is just also equal now to our sigma subscript Z. Okay, so from our formula, sigma Z is just equal now to capital Q over Z squared times this Bossinus influence factor I sub B, which is just also equal now to this delta of sigma subscript Z equal now to this capital Q over Z squared times this IB, which is also now equal or equivalent to delta P equal now to capital Q over Z squared times our Bossinus influence factor I sub B. Okay, so proceeding, substituting now all the values, no? So since we divide the footing into 4, so we need to multiply this 250 by 4 to get now our capital Q. And then our Z is equal now to 24.5, and substituting our IB, which is 0.42, we can actually get now our delta P, which is equal now to 0.7 kip per square foot, or equal now to 700 pounds. Actually, this is pounds, no? This is actually pounds here. So we try to correct it here now. So this is actually now pounds. So sorry for this. No, this is pounds. Okay, 700 pounds per square feet. Okay, so proceeding. So we are going to solve now for the void ratio and the unit weight. No, so we go first with the sand. So our buoyant unit weight now formula is just simply equal now to this J is minus 1 all over 1 plus E times the unit weight of water. Okay, which is also equal now to, since E is just equal now to our natural water content times the specific gravity of water, so we substitute it here now. And then proceeding with this one, uh, we have now this value of buoyant unit weight, which is equal now to 61.6 pounds per cubic foot. So for the sand is its GS is 2.64, and natural moisture content is 25%. So we can actually get now the buoyant unit weight of the sand, which is equal now to 61.6 pound per cubic foot. Okay, and we are going now to determine the moist unit weight, which is then equal now to this GS times the quantity 1 plus the natural moisture content all over 1 plus E times the unit weight of water. Actually, these are the formulas from your soil mechanics, and you need to review also those formulas so that you can uh, apply it here in our problem application in foundation engineering. So substituting those values, given values, so we can get now the moist unit weight, which is equal now to 124 pounds per cubic foot. Okay, actually we need to determine this buoyant unit weight for the sand, because the water table, the water, because of the water table location, and also we need to determine the moist unit weight, since this is required for the unit weight above the water table. Okay, so proceeding for the clay, so we need to get now the buoyant unit weight also using the data from the clay, and we have this JS of 2.72, and our natural moisture content is 40%. So we get now the buoyant unit weight, which is equal now to 51.4 pound per cubic foot. Okay, so as you can see here in the figure, so this is now the location of the water table. So the unit weight we need below this water table is buoyant unit weight. Okay, so the unit weight also needed above this water table is moist unit weight. So that's why we are getting now this moist unit weight and the buoyant unit weight. So for the clay, actually, we need to get this void ratio also, no? And later you will understand why we get this initial void ratio, which is just equal now to the natural measure content times the specific gravity of the solid, and our initial void ratio is equal now to 1.09. Okay. Now we are going to solve for the overburden pressure, no, denoted by this P subscript O. So as you can see in this figure, so we need to determine, no, the overburden pressure, no, carried by this clay, no, and we consider, no, at the midpoint of this clay, no, at this point. So this is 16 feet. So we only consider the 8 feet, no, since we are going to determine, no, from the mid height of the clay. So that is why it is 8 here. Okay, 8, since this is 8 feet here, times the buoyant unit weight of our clay. Okay, this is 51.4. So as what I've said, no, since this is below the water table, so we need to get the buoyant unit weight. So that is why 8 times the buoyant unit weight of the clay, which is 51.4, plus this 10. This is actually, no, the 10 feet here. This one, 10. Since this is also now the at this, no, at this depth, no, of the sand, this is now the location of our water table. So 61.6. So 10 times 61.6. So where is this 61.6, no? So as you can observe, this is also the buoyant unit weight of the sand. So I will show you, no, so that you will it it is clear to your side also that this is our for the sand. Okay, so this is our buoyant unit weight, which is 61.6. Okay, so proceeding now, so we also have this 6.5 plus 6.5, referring now to this to 6.5, which is already above the water table. So we are not concerned with the buoyant unit weight, but we are after on the moist, no, moist unit weight. So that is why this 124 is our moist unit weight here. Okay, this one for the sand. Okay, 124 pound per cubic feet. Okay, so that is why we are using here 124, since this is the moist unit weight, no, of the sand layer. So calculating, so we have now this value of our overburden pressure P sub O equals now to 2,639 pound per square feet. Okay, and proceeding from our sound mechanics, no, our liquid limit is just the sum of the plasticity index plus the plastic limit, or in symbol, this is now our formula. So substituting the given plasticity index, which is 40%, and our plastic limits, which is 30, so we can get now our liquid limit, which is equal now to 70%. Okay, and proceeding using the Tersagi and Peck formula, no, for normally consolidated clay. So to get this value of our compression index, since this is required, no, in the formula, so we are going to get this one using the Tersagi and Peck, which is equal now to 0.009 times the liquid limit minus 10. So liquid limit is 70%, so 70 here minus 10. So our CC, or the compression index, is just equal now to 0.54. Okay, and those from the settlement formula, this one, so you can actually substitute now all those calculated values, no, using this one. So our CC is 0.54, our initial void ratio is 1.09, and our H here is 16, since we are after now of the clay layer, no. I will show you why is it 16, because we are after now to this clay layer, no, the settlement in the clay layer. So this is 16 feet thick. Okay, so that is why we are using here 16. Okay, 16 times the log of our PO plus our delta P all over our PO. So we can actually get now this value of total settlement or the consolidation settlement of 0.422 foot, no? Or simply equal now to 507 inches. Okay? So I think that would be all now for this day. And this is just the part one of the consolidation and settlement. And that would be all now for this day. And thank you everyone for listening, no, and watching this video. I hope this will help you with regards now to our subject foundation engineering. And these are my references, and you can also read in advance, no, for our future videos. And once again, please like, subscribe, and even share, no, for more updated videos in the future. And once again, thank you very much for listening and watching. God bless and keep safe, and goodbye.